Hi there, Facebook. Skip Bayless coming to you live once again from Century City, Los Angeles, California, on a rare, chilly, rainy, dare I say, nasty day in Los Angeles. Just another day, not quite in paradise, but I can still see the Pacific Ocean. So that's all that really matters to me. I'm here leading up to the next college football semifinal. And I'm also going to talk a little Cowboys and a little Aaron Rodgers in between. But before we get rolling, I'm also here with my guys Tyler and Jonathan from Fox Sports 1. Are we rolling? We're good. We're live. You know what I have to do for the third time out of the 3 times I've done Facebook Live. You must say hello to the newest addition to the Bayless household. My wife Ernestine gives me, here she is again. Hi there, little girl. Hazel, say hi, Hazel. Say hi to Facebook. Hazel is now, thank you. She is now 10 weeks old. Her first appearance on Facebook was, you're okay, just calm down, it's okay, say hi. Her first Facebook appearance was 2 weeks ago when she was only 8 weeks old, and I swear, if you can see her, she's getting a little shaggy because her hair's growing. She is twice the size that she was just 2 weeks ago. So we are feeding her right, but only healthy food. And she's a little athlete, and believe it or not, Hazel can recite the alphabet already backwards. And when she's in the right mood, she can say, "How about them Cowboys?" Well, I think Hazel's had enough. Okay, now back to reality and what we just watched live on ESPN, Alabama. I was not impressed with Alabama. I'm not saying I was unimpressed, but what was to be impressed about? I said on Undisputed last week, actually yesterday, Jake Browning just isn't good enough. I'm sorry, he's just not. If you looked what happened when he played the good teams last year, if you look at what happened against USC in Seattle against Washington, he just wasn't good enough. If you look what happened against Colorado. I know they won the game handily. His QBR was 30 on a scale of 0 to 100. He just doesn't have the backbone for the big game situations. He made one nice throw early in the game to Pettis for the 16-yard touchdown that gave him a 7-0 lead. But I think he shocked himself, and he certainly shocked St. Nick, who I'm talking about Nick Saban, obviously, who personally coaches the defensive backs for the University of Alabama. And it looked like, oh, wait a second, are they going to get torched again? No, they're not going to get torched again by Jake Browning. I said it yesterday on the air, Undisputed. By the way, you know when it is, 9:30 to noon Eastern Time, Fox Sports 1 every day, and we will see you again on Monday. And is that not going to be a big day? And we do appreciate the explosive ratings we've had this week. It's all because of you folks. And by the way, if you haven't given us a try, give us a try this week. I don't think you'll go back. Fox Sports 1, 9:30 to noon. But I said yesterday, if Chad Kelly, the Ole Miss quarterback, got hurt later in the year, but if he had been able to play for Washington today, with Washington's defense, with Washington's receiver corps, with the offensive line, which I thought gave Jake Browning plenty of time to throw today. It wasn't a nightmare pass rush that Alabama inflicted on Jake Browning. He had his time, just not good enough. I'm sorry that they were handicapped at quarterback. And when Alabama has no threat to that defense on quarterback, they're completely unthreatened. They didn't care. Come on. So Chad Kelly, he threw for almost 400 yards this year and almost 400 yards a year ago in Tuscaloosa. He threw 6 touchdowns in the 2 games with no interceptions. You put Chad Kelly behind that line today, that would have been a nightmare for Alabama and for St. Nick, who might have been Ain't Nick once again this time. And by the way, I just got to throw my favorite stat out just for the benefit of my man Shannon Sharp on Undisputed, who keeps telling me about St. Nick, and I keep telling him about Ain't Nick. These are just some of the points that Ain't Nick's defense has allowed since Urban Meyer took over as the coach at Ohio State. So I'm just doing the Urban Meyer because we kept debating Urban Meyer, St. Nick last week, better coach. It's clearly Urban Meyer, all things considered. But just quickly, this is Nick Saban's defense, gave up 45 to my Oklahoma Sooners, in a Sugar Bowl. Remember the Trevor Knight game. Then 44 to to Auburn with Nick Marshall at quarterback, now a special teams player for the Jets. We talked about 43 to Ole Miss and then 43 to Ole Miss back-to-back years. Then 42 to Johnny Manziel. Remember that game at College Station. 42 and 230 yards to Zeke the Freak. Thank you very much. Now my Cowboy rookie. And, of course, 40 last year to Clemson. And we'll talk about Deshaun Watson, who threw for 405 yards in the championship game last year, 4 touchdowns, just 1 interception against St. Nick or Ain't Nick's defense. I won't even talk about the 34 they gave up in the kick 6 game, but that's okay. That just gives you a taste of what can be done to a Nick Saban defense. He coaches the defensive backs. If the quarterback can throw the football and has a sense and a feel for standing strong against the rush and finding open receivers. They're open receivers. So what happened today? Jalen Hurts had a pretty bad day, all things considered. He throws for all of 57 yards, 7 of 14. Alabama went 4 of 14 on third down. It's not great. Jalen Hurts, a little too patient of a runner for my taste. I love the kid. I love his body language, his demeanor. But he's almost too nonchalant, and so many times he sort of waited and waited for something to open up that did not open up. And, of course, the game was eventually taken over by Bo Scarborough. I love Bo Scarborough. I loved him the night that I took LSU against Alabama, remember, at LSU, 0-0 through 3 quarters. But every time the backup back came in for Alabama that night, Bo Scarborough, bad things happened for me as I was rooting for LSU because Bo Scarborough has Russell Westbrook in him. He attacks relentlessly. He attacks with no conscience, no thought, no fear. It's like, give me the ball and get out of my way. And I swear, Washington in this game missed 27 tackles just on Bo Scarborough. How many times did they have him? They have him again, then they have him again, and he's still loose because he's got that Russell Westbrook, plays with that relentless rage. You are not going to get me on the ground. And finally, of course, he broke their back with the 68-yarder in which he was tackled 6 times before he got loose for that one. But, of course, it just comes back to Jake Browning because if you're going to throw it to them and give them easy pick 6, as they did at the end of the half, Ryan Anderson, he said, here, let me throw it in the flat to you, Ryan Anderson. Please catch it and run it the other way for the 17-7 touchdown. And that was, as I tweeted, that was it. That was the ball game. They weren't going to do anything after that. It took the heart out of the Huskies. But Bo Scarborough was the only thing that really impressed me tonight. He goes 19 times for 180 yards, the most ever for any back in the history of Alabama in a bowl game. That's pretty special because that's quite a history. That's quite a tradition. And the reason we haven't heard that much about Bo Scarborough yet, obviously outside Bama Nation, is he tore up his knee as a freshman in the summer camp leading up to the season, tore his ACL, so that pretty much did in his freshman year. Comes back for his sophomore year, re-injures the knee, dare I say, slightly against Kent State, and then tweaked it again that night against LSU when he carried 11 times for 52 impactful yards. Again, I was happy that he didn't carry the ball more in that game. He's a stud. 6'2", 230, a local product from the Tuscaloosa area. And I'll go on record right now, he's going to be right in the middle of the Heisman race next year. I think he'll be one of the prominent preseason candidates building up to that Heisman race. And I like his chances with the offensive line. I'm sure Ain't Nick will have another good defense and another good team. Maybe they'll be defending champions again. We'll talk about that in just a second. But again, Washington's defense had to make plays tonight because they led the nation in takeaways with 33, and they had the early chance. Buda Baker got his hands on the ball. It was going to be a tough catch because it was up over his head. But that could have at least changed the mood of the game. They still got the quick touchdown pass to Pettis going the other way for 7-0. But then they stripped Jalen Hurts, and he's strippable. He leads the nation in fumbles lost. So they got one on the ground, and Alabama recovered it. So they had no turnovers, and then there was the late interception, which gave on the last, I can't even call it a Hail Mary, just the desperation deep pass by Jake Browning on 4th and long. So it was 3 turnovers to no turnovers. And if Washington can't create 1 turnover, they're not going to have a chance in this game. Before I get to Deshaun Watson and this second game, quick thoughts about my Cowboys and Aaron Rodgers tomorrow. I will be the happiest man in America if, and it's a 1 o'clock East Coast kickoff, obviously, in Philadelphia, if around 4 o'clock Eastern, my Cowboys walk off that field having suffered no, I'm knocking on wood right now, right in front of me, no major injuries. Ty Smith obviously tweaked his knee, slight sprain of a knee ligament last week against the Lions. Of course, he's not going to play, so it gives me a little cause for pause, because the backside of the quarterback will be unprotected for the most part. Maybe they can hang in there. Maybe they're going to have to end up moving Doug Free over to left tackle. I don't know. I still want to see Dak play a half, and I'm happy to see Tony Romo play a half because he's going to need some game reps. He hasn't had them forever since, as you recall, we have to go all the way back to 2 Thanksgivings ago against Cam Newton and company and Josh Norman at Jerry World. Last time we saw Tony Romo in a real game, except for the 3 plays that he played in the preseason game at Seattle, and we know what happened on the 3rd play of that game. Dak Prescott happened, by the way. So I want to see Dak play a half, hope he'll be okay, and Tony play for the second half. And all I got to say is, if they can get unscathed through this game, and they can get Ty Smith healthy, and Morris Claiborne completely healthy, and Anthony Brown, who's had what a terrific, maybe quietly terrific rookie year he's had out on the corner, thrust into action in place of Mo Claiborne, but he had a concussion against Detroit. Get Anthony Brown back, get the rotation of defensive linemen healthy. I know there are 2 or 3 sort of no-name linemen who have some injuries going on, but get Zeke the Freak fresh for that first home playoff game and the 2 home playoff games to get to the Super Bowl. I love my Cowboys' chances. I do not love Dak Prescott's chances of winning the MVP that he should win. This is a no-brainer to me. This has driven me about as crazy as anything ever on live television. I'm going to say it one more time. Dak Prescott should be the MVP of the NFL right now. Sorry, Facebook. I'm used to slamming the table. Actually, my hand's been a little bruised this week. You probably can't see it, but it's pretty black and blue from doing, how about, you know how that goes on Undisputed. I won't do one for you right now because there's no cause. But my point is, Dak Prescott leads the National Football League in QBR, my favorite statistic. Dak Prescott brought this team back against Kirk Cousins at Washington. He outbinned Roethlisberger and brought them from behind 42 seconds left at Pittsburgh. Do I have to tell you what he did to the Baltimore defense when I heard, there's no way against this Baltimore front 7, 301 yards passing, outgunned Kirk Cousins on the big Thanksgiving Day stage at Jerry World, outgunned Jameis Winston when all I heard was the Bucs are coming in with the hottest defense in the National Football League over the previous 5 weeks. I can go on and maybe bore you to death with all this, but I've been watching nothing but the MVP, who had the highest degree of difficulty of any player in the National Football League, with Jerry Jones and his boy Tony Romo looking over the shoulder pads of Dak Prescott, and he just rose higher and higher and higher. So many big road performances, so many big stage home performances. They've been on the big national solo stage for the last 5 games. That's the MVP. But guess who's going to win it? Aaron Rodgers is going to win it, and it's going to drive me out of my mind because it is so unfair. Aaron Rodgers gets more passes than he throws, and I don't get it. I know he's got the swagger. He's got all the national TV commercials. His house is on fire. Oh, who cares? I don't care. Discount, double check. I don't know if that works on Facebook here, but I'm just tired of it because for the first 10 games of the year, by Aaron Rodgers standards, he was awful. They were awful. And don't tell me, it's the defense and it's the receivers. All of a sudden, how many weeks did I have to sit and hear excuse makers and apologists for Aaron Rodgers tell me, none of his receivers can get open. Well, what's happening now? Jordy was there and Devontae was there and Randall was there, and I could go on. Jared Cook hasn't been there. He's back. I guess that helps some. But what changed? I don't know. It's like the first 10 games don't count toward MVP. So we're throwing out Aaron Rodgers' first 10 games, and now because he's been hot over the last 5 games, albeit against mediocre competition, except for 38-10 over Seattle. I give Aaron Rodgers that. I needed that, frankly, for my Dallas Cowboys, so I give you that one. So are you going to give him the MVP of the National Football League off one game? Really? One game at home? Now he has a big game tomorrow at Detroit. I was so looking forward to this game 5 weeks ago, and Theo Riddick hurt his wrist. And I'm pretty sure he's not going to play. And people have been laughing at me, even my man Rob Parker from Detroit, now on Undisputed. Oh, so Theo Riddick is great? Well, I'm not saying he's all-time great, but he's the spark plug of that offense. I've been watching him all year. I picked him to upset the Eagles when the Eagles were flying high. I picked him to upset the Redskins when the Redskins were flying medium. And Matt Stafford pulled off both games, but he had Theo Riddick for splash plays. All the big runs, all the big catches. There's no better back out of the backfield than Theo Riddick. And again, maybe there's something that happened today that I don't know. I hope the heavens open and his wrist heals. But I don't think he's going to play because he didn't practice this week. And Matt Stafford obviously tore up middle finger on his throwing hand. He has to wear the glove now, and he hasn't been the same since he tore that ligament in his middle finger. And can you blame him for that? And now, again, Darius Slay is supposed to play. He's had a bad hamstring, and I'm hoping he'll play, so maybe they can hang in on defense. But it just seems set up for Aaron Rodgers to have a big game. And I finally gave in and gave up and gave the Aaron Rodgers fans what they want. And my show is populated with nothing but Aaron Rodgers fans. And I said yesterday, okay, you got it. I give it to you. He's going to be coronated tomorrow in Detroit. It just feels like a setup to me. Aaron Rodgers is going to throw for 380 yards and 5 touchdowns, and he's going to win MVP and carry the Packers as the hottest team in pro football into the playoffs. Good. You can have it. It'll be 42-14 Green Bay. God bless all of you, because I want you at Jerry World. I want the Giants at Jerry World, and I want anybody. I'm good. I'm good to go. Bring it on. Bring on the next game. Upcoming, Clemson, Ohio State, Deshaun Watson. By the way, I watched Lamar Jackson today. I'm just dubious about his pro football chances. I'm just not sure he's accurate enough. I'm just not sure. It comes and it goes. I see greatness and then I see mediocrity. I'm not sure, but I love Deshaun Watson. I love his intangibles, his makeup, his toughness. He had a rough year, and I'm convinced it was because he was just waiting for this thing tonight. And then Alabama in the final. I'm just convinced that after throwing for 405 against Ain't Nick's defense a year ago, now was the time that he's been waiting for, and it hurt him through the year. Not enough focus, too much looking ahead. So as the underdog tonight against an Ohio State team I have lots of respect for, I think he's going to be the difference maker. He'll play a little better than J.T. Barrett does. There's nobody in college football more clutch than Deshaun Watson. He's sort of the anti-LeBron, if you will. I expect him to make the big plays down the stretch tonight to get to Alabama, and then we'll talk about that next week on Undisputed as we get ready for the championship game. So thank you for hanging with me live here from Century City, Los Angeles, on a dreary night in L.A., a rare dreary night. Follow us on Facebook at Undisputed on FS1. Follow us on Twitter at Undisputed. Tune in to Undisputed Monday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Me versus the Hall of Fame trash talker Shannon Sharp with Chris Carter, Ray Lewis, on, Nelly, Lil Wayne. We're all there. It's the place to be if you want raw, real NFL talk and college football talk. Join us Monday on Undisputed. Good night. Skip Bayless signing off from Los Angeles.